This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I'll talk more about Squarespace later on in the video. Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the Viet vegan because I'm Viet and I'm vegan, and today I'm showing you how I make black sesame 3 different ways. I've been having a lot of fun experimenting, and we're making peanut butter cups, but black sesame ice cream with 3 ingredients, and a black sesame milkshake. First, we're gonna make our black sesame butter cups. They're basically peanut butter cups goth cousin. First, you're gonna melt some chocolate over a double boiler. You can either microwave it. I have instructions on my blog for microwaving. So my favorite way to melt chocolate these days is just by putting a large metal bowl on top of a pot of boiling water around medium-low heat, and that way it melts the chocolate very nice and gently. You're gonna stir it so it doesn't burn. Once it's completely melted, you turn down the heat to about like a low simmer so that it stays warm, and then you put them in the cups. I like to use silicone muffin cups because it's the easiest way to remove the butter cups. You can use paper, but it's kind of a hassle to take them apart. These silicone muffin wrappers are like one of my favorite things. I get them, I think I got these on Amazon. I can't really remember. I've had them for years. I can link some down below if you want, but I'm sure they sell them at like Winners or like Walmart or whatever. They're very handy. I use like the back of a spoon to sort of push the chocolate up the sides of the silicone baking cups. That way you get as few air bubbles as possible, and that way you have a nice solid outer shell. I like to make it as thin as possible because eating like really thick chocolate isn't super enjoyable for these cups. I use probably about like 1 teaspoon for the bottom and 1 teaspoon for the top, maybe like a teaspoon and a half. Like you're trying to spread it as thin as possible. So once you have all of those in the cups, this takes about like half an hour, then you're gonna put it in the freezer for it to set up. To make the filling, I'm basically swapping my peanut butter cup filling recipe, but making it all black sesame. So instead of peanut butter, I'm using black sesame seed butter. I found this at the Asian market. I got this at Nations, and just like natural peanut butter, it's basically blended black sesame seeds, and I'm pretty sure they're toasted too, so they have like a nice, really nutty, deep flavor. But I used about half a cup of black sesame seed butter. Then I added half a cup of icing sugar, 1/3 cup of toasted sesame seeds that are ground. I found this black sesame seed powder, but like I said, you can just use ground black sesame seeds, and a little bit of vegan butter and a little bit of salt to go into the filling as well. Just give a little extra flavor. You know, you don't really need to do this, especially if you're adding sea salt on top like I did, but you know what? It's fine. Don't worry about it. Who cares? It's a little extra salty. So mix everything really well. I probably should have sifted my icing sugar here, but you know what? It's fine. And you're just gonna mix it until you get a nice thick filling. Now you're gonna scoop them into your now chilled shells. I think I used like 1.5 teaspoons here. I don't really remember what these scoops are in terms of size, but it's like the smallest cookie scoop, or like the small, it's like whatever. It's like a tablespoon. Basically fit as much into it as you can. Something about this filling is like non-Newtonian fluid. You know how it like kind of, once it settles, it like goes kind of liquid, but you're just gonna use a spoon or spatula to sort of like pat it all down. And at this point, you can either set it up in the fridge so it's easier to work with, or you can just go hard like I did and just start using chocolate on top. I like to keep the chocolate kind of warm on the stove while everything else is happening. As long as you keep it down on like a medium low or like a low, it doesn't really matter. The chocolate still, you know, requires a stir here and there, but mostly it's just chillin'. Well, actually it's not chillin', it's simmering. Cover the tops. I use about 1 teaspoon, 1.5 teaspoons. Again, like I said, you want to use as like thin of a chocolate shell as possible because biting into a thick chocolate shell with these cups, not pleasant. Once you have everything done, you got it going from edge to edge. I like to top it with a little bit of flaky maldon salt, you know, for a little fanciness, for a little extraness. Totally not necessary if you don't want to. I let it set up in the fridge for about half an hour, and then I pull them out, unwrap them, and just enjoy. It is such a good time. These have a really nice, deep, nutty flavor, and they're so good, especially with like a little bit of coffee, because it's like nice, deep, nutty, and a little bit of sweet. It's just good times. The next thing we're making is some 3-ingredient no churn ice cream. Now, I don't have an ice cream maker, and this is like the best thing that I could think of. I'm using sweetened condensed coconut milk, although this is a different brand from the one that I normally use, and it kind of separated from the coconut oil and the sweet condensed milk part, but that's fine. I just mix it all up. It's gonna work. It'll be basically what I want. So I add a can of sweetened condensed coconut milk, about half a cup of black sesame seed butter, and then I blend that together. And the idea is that I'm gonna freeze them as ice cubes and then blend them with milk and then freeze that whole mixture. That'll be like nice and fluffy to have sort of like a no churn ice cream. It's still a bit firmer than I'd like. I think if I did this again, I'd probably mix it with a little bit of the like coconut whip, you know, like that Cool Whip stuff, but that's vegan. It's made out of coconut. I think I would do that just so that you have like a nice fluffy texture, but this was still pretty good. So I blend that up. I freeze it into ice cubes, and then the next day, once they're all frozen, then I take it and put it in a blender with milk again, and not too much, just enough, because you want to use as little liquid as possible, and having sugar in between those sort of like molecules will make freezing it be less icy. you know, more fat, more sugar means creamier ice cream. So this is the mixture that you get once you blend those frozen cubes of black sesame and coconut condensed milk with milk. But like I said, I would stir in that fluffy sort of like coconut whip now, and then that way you get like a really nice aerated mix that freezes and it'll scoop a lot easier. But like I said, this tasted really good still, and it had like a pretty decent texture. It was just kind of like harder to scrape out of the container, but it still does yield a very nice creamy ice cream. So, you know, enjoy it with 3 scoops. It's a very good time. It's not too sweet, not too bitter or like nutty. Really good, solid black sesame flavor. I like to top it with a little extra black sesame seed for a little fanciness, but all in all, pretty successful 3 ingredient ice cream, if I do say so myself, especially if you don't have an ice cream maker. Before we make some more black sesame goodness, let's talk about today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you've been following me on Twitch, you'll have seen our weekly D&D sessions on Fridays at 7. I use Squarespace to make our simple and clean website with info about the players, our DM, and our overall campaign. Squarespace websites take the guesswork out of making a beautiful website with their multitude of easy-to-use drag and drop templates. Whether you need to advertise your art, sell your merch, share your podcast, make your website with Squarespace for that aesthetic website feel with zero coding knowledge required. So get started today by going to squarespace.com/VietVegan and use code VietVegan to get 10% off your first order. All right, so the last thing we're gonna make is a milkshake. Now I asked on Instagram if you think a milkshake requires ice cream or doesn't require ice cream, and the results were kind of inconclusive. So I've made 2 different versions, one with ice cream and one without ice cream, okay? Everyone's happy. So for the ice cream version of the milkshake, I used 3 scoops of ice cream, 1 cup of soy milk, and 1 to 2 tablespoons of black sesame powder. Since the ice cream is already sweetened, I didn't add more sweetener, but you can add more sweetener if you want to. And I blended that up for a nice creamy milkshake. And you top with a little extra black sesame seeds for funsies. Now, if you don't have ice cream, you can make this with the sesame seed butter, or you can just use the powder. I've done both. Both have been good. It's really just however you feel. So again, start off with some soy milk or whatever plant milk you want. I added some ice cubes. So I used 2 tablespoons of the black sesame seed butter. And I have this like vegan honey that I got from this local maker in Hamilton. It is legitimately the best vegan honey I've ever had. I've only been able to find it from Bring Me Some Vegan or from Coven, but it is a good time. And you blend it up and there you have it, a little milkshake. Although, you know, I guess it's like not as creamy as like an ice cream milkshake, but let me know what your thoughts are down below. Is it a milkshake with that ice cream? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these recipes. I hope you like them. Sorry I haven't really been uploading, but you know, sometimes life gets in the way. I'll leave links to the recipes down below if you like. I hope you're all having a wonderful, delicious day. Bye.